G'day, Steve here, Woodworking Masterclass. Welcome to the workshop and a very quick video on how to flatten sharpening stones. I don't know if you've been on the internet or read books or magazines, but there seems to be an absolute plethora out there of information and traditional ways of doing things and personal preference ways of doing things and the best way of doing things. And look, this is my way of flattening stones. It's the most effective that I've found. It's definitely the cheapest. You don't need anything fancy. In fact, what I've got is a bit of broken old, it's about 6mm plate glass. It was off a sliding door that broke. Be careful of the sharp edges. I've got a bit of 120 wet and dry on the top. I've got some kerosene and I just squirt the kerosene on the paper. Now the reason we have to flatten stones is because we've got chisels that are different widths. We've got plain blades that are quite large. So what happens over time, if I'm sharpening this plain blade, which is the width of the stone, that's fine. But then all of a sudden I've got a 2mm, 3mm carving tool here. And now if I sharpen that, that's going to give me a groove down here. Then I come with 1.5 inch chisel and that's going to give me another groove. Then I'll come along 3/8 and sharpen there, and I'm sharpening all over the stone. So it's meant to be flat, but over time with all those different width chisels, it gets all these gradients in it or ravines in it or undulations, if you like. Matter of fact, I lent this stone, it's off a Tormic, to somebody to sharpen a chisel, a carving chisel, and they held the carving chisel in one spot. Now it's a $200 stone, and when I got it back, it really isn't worth anything at all. So whether or not you're using Tormic or Makita or DeWalt or Delta, Safework, any of these grinding stones that work on machines, it's just as important to keep those flat as well. But back to these hand-used stones. First of all, I'll do my 2 oil stones, and then I've got a water stone up here. But basically, it's the same principle. So here, a good way to check if it's flat, get hold of a known straight edge, and if you put it on your stone and hold it up to light, if it's not dead flat, you'll have light coming between the blade and the stone. This one's minimal wear. This one's a bit coarser. Yep, and I reckon there's about a thou or something there. So what I'll do is I'll start on this stone first because it needs the most work, so I'll use it when the paper's new. Then I'll go into my smoothing stone, then I'll change the paper over and we'll do a watering stone. I use Kero. You can use any sort of medium I suppose, but I find kerosene's good. I'm leaving this in the holder because I'm interested in getting this face flat, not worried about the one that's underneath. Just place it on there. Generally I'll do whatever number clockwise or anti-clockwise, then the same anti-clockwise, and then turn the stone 180 degrees and do exactly the same process. In there I'll throw figure of 8s in, like this, and that covers all the carborundum that I'm using, and also covers all the stone. And you'll see here it's got discoloration. When I'm totally flat, it's going to be a nice orangey colour all the way through. And I don't skimp on the Kero. soon as I start to feel that paper's getting dry, I'll just put some more lubricant on it. You could use water if you like, but I find seeing I use Caro on these stones, I might as well flatten them with Caro. Now you can see that's coming up all the same colour. Bit of rag, wipe that off. I'll just hold that up to the light with my square. No light coming through there at all. I'll give my finer stone a bit of a rub. And that now is nice and flat. Change it over. This is 180. And that just gives it just a little bit of a final polish. Really, you can stop at 120 if you want. That's both my oil stones done. And exactly the same thing. Here's a Japanese water stone, and that has got a fair amount of wear in it because I use the central piece a lot with these blades, and therefore it's higher on the ridges. Now this is just ordinary water. Plonk it down, and the same thing. And this is on 180. I wouldn't do 220 or 120 on this, because as you can see, a slurry is coming up very, very quickly because these stones are very, very soft. Just spray some water on there to clean the grit out, or else the slurry will fill up all the grit and it doesn't cut as effectively. And there is absolutely no light shining through there at all. So what I might do is just give it a quick one with 320. Spray that off. And there you are. And that is how easy and inexpensive and quick it is to flatten your stones, whether they're oil stones or water stones. No need for diamond stones or anything fancy. A couple of sheets of wet and dry. With the oil stone I start at 120 and I finish with 180. With the water stone I start with 180 and finish with 320. Well, that'll keep me going for a bit. Now I can sharpen the rest of my tools, and I hope that helped a little bit. If you're a little bit confused or flustered with all the information flying around, that's my way of doing it. I'm not saying it's the best, I'm not saying it's the only way, but I'm saying I think it's the cheapest, and for me it's the quickest. So this is Steve pulling the shed door down and saying remember to keep it sharp, and if you've got flat stones you'll keep it sharp. Keep it safe, enjoy your woodwork, and I'll see you soon in the shop. Bye for now.